In local government, we measure almost everything: budgets, service levels, capital projects. But one asset quietly determines whether all of that work moves smoothly or stalls: public trust. And if episode 4 showed us how silence withdraws from the trust account, this episode is about what happens when that account runs low. Welcome back to A Blueprint for Building Public Trust. I'm Kent Waugh. Today's episode is written especially for leaders because whether we name it or not, trust is already affecting how efficiently your organization operates. Trust is often treated as intangible, difficult to measure, hard to define, easy to deprioritize. And in many organizations, it quietly gets categorized as a communications issue, something to manage around the edges, after the decision is made, after the direction is set. But here's the reality: low trust creates real costs, not theoretical ones, operational ones. Let me give you a familiar pattern. A municipality knows its city hall is no longer viable. The building is outdated, operationally inefficient, departments scattered across leased spaces. Technology doesn't work the way it needs to. Infrastructure is aging. Risks are increasing. Internally, the need is clear, but externally, the decision feels risky. It won't be popular. The timing is sensitive. There are concerns about how it'll be perceived. So the decision gets deferred, explored once, then paused, revisited, then softened, presented, but over-explained. Because somewhere along the way, the focus shifts from being clear to being convincing. And residents feel that, not always consciously, but instinctively. Something doesn't land, support doesn't build, and the project stalls. Now, contrast that with a different scenario. Same municipality, other civic facilities reach the point where they can no longer operate safely. No choice, no delay. The projects move forward, but this time without strong engagement, without clear, honest communication, because the decision feels unavoidable. And the result? Projects move, but trust doesn't. And something subtle happens. Each time this pattern repeats, the organization spends more time re-explaining itself, and the residents spend less time believing it. This is where the role of trust becomes clear. When residents trust you, projects move faster, not because everyone agrees, but because fewer people assume the worst. There's less resistance, less hesitation, less need to re-explain the same decision over and over again. Feedback improves because when residents feel you're being honest, they respond differently. They weigh trade-offs. They recognize constraints. They give you the benefit of the doubt, just like we saw with informed residents in episode 3. And staff burnout decreases because work moves forward once, not 3 times, not through cycles of rework, reconsideration, and re-engagement trying to land what didn't land the first time. Low trust slows everything down. Projects get revisited, decisions get delayed, engagement gets repeated. Let's study it again. Let's consult again. Let's bring back more evidence. And on the surface, that looks responsible. But underneath, it's friction and it's expensive. Because while decisions stall, costs don't. Inflation continues, timelines extend, budgets increase. That same City Hall project that might have moved forward earlier now costs 20 to 30% more. Not because the need changed, but because trust wasn't there to carry it forward. None of this shows up as a line item, but everyone feels it. This is also where we start to see what reduces that friction. When municipalities build ongoing systems, like community panels, something shifts. Residents are more informed. They understand context. They've seen multiple issues over time. And because of that, they respond differently. Not always with agreement, but with balance. And importantly, with trust, because they're not encountering each issue in isolation. They're experiencing a system. Trust acts as a multiplier. It doesn't remove tension, but it absorbs shock. When something difficult happens, an unpopular decision, a necessary cost increase, a service change, residents don't immediately assume failure or bad intent. They pause, they consider, they give you the benefit of the doubt, not because the outcome changed, but because the relationship did. Now, measuring trust isn't always straightforward. Most councils won't ask directly, but that doesn't mean it isn't visible. You see it in patterns, participation quality, tone of feedback, consistency of engagement. You see it in how quickly issues escalate or stabilize. The signals are there. We just don't always connect them back to trust. And this is where we need to make an important distinction. Satisfaction is not the same as trust. A resident can be satisfied with a service and still not trust the organization providing it. Satisfaction is transactional. Trust is relational and cumulative. In fact, declining satisfaction is often a lagging indicator. By the time satisfaction drops, trust may already be gone. This is why trust cannot be treated as a soft concept or a communications output. It is an operational asset. And like any asset, it requires investment, not just effort, but design. Because when trust is strong, everything costs less. Time, energy, political capital, financial resources. And when trust is weak, everything costs more. So here's the reframe I want to leave you with. Trust isn't a cost center, it's capital. And like any capital asset, if you don't invest in it, you don't stay neutral. You fall into deficit. And deficit trust is one of the most expensive positions a municipality can be in, because everything you try to do from that point forward takes longer, costs more, and faces more resistance, which leads to the next question. If trust delivers this kind of return, how do we design for it? If this resonates, share it with decision makers who are feeling that friction. In the next episode, we move from outcomes to architecture, from trust as return to trust by design, because trust isn't built by effort alone, it's built by systems.